everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Trust Your Board podcast. My name is Stephen Wright. I am joined by Mr. William Monroe. How you doing, Will?
Doing well, Steve. Hitting a little bit here of the Sunday scaries as we record here on Sunday evening. I had a pretty busy weekend. Friends' engagement party. Started a new D&D campaign with another group of friends. So action-packed weekend, and then you get to the end of the weekend, and it's just, where did all the time go?
Yeah.
I didn't get to relax at all, and then we're right back on the weekly grind.
Yeah, I told my wife earlier, I was like, man, I could use a nap, but we don't have time for a nap, which means the next time I sleep is going to be the end of the day when Monday comes around. So,
yep, that's the worst. That is the worst.
Speaking of scary Sundays, did you see 95?
Yeah. It's this morning. Everything went down, and apparently it's going to be down for months, they say.
Yeah. So for those of you not like in the Philly area or on the East Coast, 95 is an interstate that runs from like Maine to Florida. And I guess some truck caught fire under the overpass, right?
Underneath. Yeah. And it I guess heated the road enough that the road just collapsed. So now, one of the biggest interstates that goes, like you said, from Maine to Miami it will be not usable for months, at least for that one section. So people have to get off, get back on. They said, I was reading that if there's an average of 160,000 cars use that a day.
Yeah, that's a thing. It's not.
Traffic patterns will be interesting.
Yeah, it's not 95. It's like just in the middle of nowhere. It is in the heart of Philadelphia.
Literally, just now, kind of on, it makes the eastern kind of border of Philadelphia next to the river. So, it is big news. I definitely haven't seen anything like that happen around here before, and haven't really heard of too many major highways like that collapsing really anywhere in the States, at least.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Interesting story. But anyway, we have a mock draft to do, Will.
Yes, we do. We're, quickly moving into the summer here. Just technically summer starts in about a week and a half, but June 11th, we're, this is when I think some of the more, some of the people that are really into fantasy will start doing their mocks here in June. You'll see most people probably maybe start closer to August, but this is when I think you start to see the trends begin and players move up and down. So I think there's a couple guys we talked about last time we recorded that were much lower, some of the younger guys. I think it'll be interesting to see how they've changed.
Yeah, hopefully they moved up. Yeah, for sure. So nothing fancy. Got a regular 12-team PPR mock draft. We did flip things around. Will, I don't remember where. I know you were in the top half, but do you remember where you were?
I think it was 4 or 5.
And
because I remember it was surprising. I think it was maybe 5. And it got to the second and third running backs for both. There's all but one running back was still on the board when I was there. A lot of receivers went.
There you go. Yep. And I was on the turn at the 12 spot. So we flipped it around. Will's in the back end. He's in the 10. And I am in the beginning. I'm at the 2. Which is an interesting spot this year. If wide receivers are going early, that could leave me wide open for a Christian McCaffrey or, whatever running back you like, your top running back. You typically don't get that at the 2 spot, but it'll be interesting to see.
And as I look at the ADP, I do see some changes. Mr. Bijan Robinson is up to 9.
That sounds about right.
He was. He was in 3rd or 4th round.
Yeah, I passed on him at the 12, thinking he wouldn't be there. So he went to the 3rd, I think.
Garrett Wilson up to 20. I think that was another one that stuck out to me. I was talking to my brother-in-law who had done a mock draft recently, and he said he got Garrett Wilson in the 5th round. I was like, that sounds like it's probably not going to be there come end of the summer. So it seems like even Garrett Wilson's moving up with the Aaron Rodgers news.
Yep, 100%. That makes a lot of sense. So let's you ready to get started and see how that stuff falls?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So start the draft. Justin Jefferson is the first one off the board. I'm not going to say too much. I'm just going to go ahead and lock in McCaffrey. He's my top running back yet again. This is definitely going to be a year I would think that is more wide receiver heavy. People are going to, swing that way, and I'm going to weave in the other direction if I can. I'm going to I don't think I need to explain McCaffrey too much. I think everyone's cool with that pick.
Yeah, pretty easy one.
Yeah, we have Jamar Chase go after that. Travis Kelce, the 104. We have Eckler, Cup, Tyreek Hill. There's Bijan Robinson, the 108, and Jonathan Taylor.
Wow, ahead of Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, he almost made it to you. So this one a little bit more split. We got 4 wide receivers, 4 running backs, and a tight end here in the first 9 picks. But now you are up.
Yeah, pretty even there. As we've talked, really no quarterbacks and tight ends are options here. Kelce, probably would have been a pretty strong consideration had he been there, but with him going, really narrows it down to just the receiver and running back positions. Stephon Diggs, I think, is still pretty shoe in for he'll be a top 10 receiver, but is one of the few that has that opportunity to be the one. So some other good receivers there with him: Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown. But Stephon Diggs, I think it would be the receiver pick here for me. At running back, Saquon Barkley, I think, sticks out because of the receiving chops. We have Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, should get a good amount of receiving as well. Are all options there too. So it's interesting for me. I worry still a little bit about Saquon. I know that obviously there's a ton of upside, but here I want to make sure I'm going to get a guy that, while they have a top 5 upside, I think the floor is there. So I'm going to take Stephon Diggs, see who gets back to me here. So he has Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley, CeeDee Lamb, and Patrick Mahomes goes off the board. So I have the opportunity here to get another one of those running backs. I think if I went running back, Josh Jacobs calls out to me as a guy that I think, because of the receiving game that we're going to get with him, the offense is going to run through him. So he's a guy that I like here. A little early on ADP, but this is a situation where guys don't get back to you when you're at the end there. Outside of him, Devontae Adams is still on the board, so it would be interesting to be able to pair Adams and Diggs together. You have 2 elite receivers. I'm on Ross St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, we talked about earlier, still on the board. Quite a few receivers. I mean, obviously, getting Adams would be nice from like an upside standpoint, but I do worry a little bit about the floor there with the receiving or with the quarterbacks that he's going to have available to him. So if I was going to go receiver here, I feel like I would kind of take the more upside shot of Garrett Wilson. But at this stage, I don't think I can pass on Josh Jacobs, the guy I think is going to be at least a top 10 running back, but one of those that has that upside to be a top 5 guy. He could be a league winner. So going to try to strike some balance here and pair Mr. Josh Jacobs up with Stephon Diggs. So lock that in. After Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson goes off the board, Nick Chubb, Breece Hall, Jalen Waddle, and Tony Pollard.
Pollard would have been lovely here.
Yeah,
that's a shame. That would have been real nice. So we got all our quarterbacks on the board outside of Patrick Mahomes. So I do got Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts available to me. Same thing with tight ends. We had no other tight ends go. So we still got everyone outside of Kelce. Top running backs, we got Najee, Stevenson, Etienne, Kenneth Walker, Aaron Jones, Jamar Gibbs. At wide receiver, Amon-Ra, Higgins, Olave, Metcalf, Devonta Smith. So still plenty of options on both. There's no... I'm not sure, like that elite tier that I would put like a Pollard, a Waddle, a Breece Hall, the 3 picks prior to me, all into. Like I feel like there's just a tier break here. Maybe Olave gets up into that tier, but I do think Olave is the one I'm looking at here. The wide receiver, the running backs are solid. I do want a wide receiver here at the turn. The problem is I don't think I'm going to walk away with the second running back. So I'm going to go in and lock in Olave. I'm going to try to get that upside, see if he has a breakout campaign that a lot of people are expecting. Amon-Ra and Mark Andrews goes. Okay, so my pick was Mark Andrews. Wow, okay. That sucks. Yeah, I thought at the 302 he would have been a great pick. So now... do I want to do the normal draft a running back here? All the same running backs are here, so I can get high volume workhorse out of Najee. Get Ramondre Stevenson to look real good. ETN electric. Walker, good year last year. Who really knows what's going on? Jahmyr Gibbs, get that kind of upside in a PPR. Do I just go with a quarterback? Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. It's not something that I typically have on my team. I think this feels. I don't like this feeling. I don't want to pass up Najee Harris, but I think I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. I think I like him more than everyone else in front of me. I definitely like him more than Aaron Jones. I like Aaron Jones, but that offense as a whole is kind of worrisome. I like Kenneth Walker, but kind of worried about the Charbonnet pick. That might be nothing, but it could be something. ETN is in high consideration. He's real close there. Stevenson's solid. I'm just always kind of iffy on the New England backfield. I mean, it really looks like it's just his backfield, and there's not going to be any switching around this year. But I'm always just kind of iffy. And Najee is the workhorse. Jalen Warren, he's earned himself some playing time. So I don't think you're going to see that typical like Pittsburgh bell cow like you normally do. I think he's going to split some carries a little bit. Not that Jahmyr Gibbs isn't going to be, but Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, has higher upside than Najee at this. Would you agree with that statement? Who has higher upside, Najee or Gibbs?
That's, I guess you could say, there's unknown, right? Like Jahmyr Gibbs definitely could come in and just be like that world beater. But yeah, I mean, it seems like the offense is, going to be better in Pittsburgh, barring injuries or something. You have, I think for the first time in a while, some consistency with the quarterback, offensive coordinator, coach. Like all three of them are coming back, head coach. So I think the offense would get better, and Najee should be better. They did a good job of, updating their offensive line. So yeah, I don't think it's a crazy statement to say that Gibbs has more upside. But I think there is some upside there with Najee that, like, I think the pendulum just swung too far for him.
Yeah, that's fair. They're close. I like them both. Next draft, I'd probably flip and do the opposite of what I'm going to do now. Who knows? But for now, I'm just going to go with that gut. I'm going to go with Mr. Gibbs. Let's see here. Jalen Hurts goes off the board. T. Higgins, Metcalf, Josh Allen, Najee Harris, there goes at 307. Stevenson and ETN. So a little bit of a running back run right before your pick. I'm not sure if you're too happy about that, but you are up.
Yeah, I mean, Najee, I think, would have been a no-brainer there, just like the value. ETN and Ramondre, good, and good pass-catching backs. So, like, at this point, I'm not in love with any of the running backs here. You could say this is maybe a spot where Madison's going to start going, but his ADP hasn't really updated yet. So, he would probably be in consideration, but I kind of like some receiver and even quarterback options here. I kind of am in a good situation because I feel like Burrow and Lamar is kind of like the end of the next tier at top 5 quarterbacks. So I can actually, I'm going to try out the quarterback run here, but on the next pick with my 4th pick. So I'm going to go with a guy that I think has a chance to, everyone's viewing him as a wide receiver 2, but I think he's got a chance to actually be the wide receiver 1 from a stat standpoint on the year, and that's Devonta Smith. He had another great year last year. He's just, you see it on the field. He is an elite player, and he's only getting better. So Smith, I think, is a really good, safe wide receiver 2 fantasy-wise for me, but with a ton of upside. And I wouldn't be surprised if he actually, has a better year than A.J. Brown. The offense should be just as good, if not better. This year, they did a good job of kind of reworking everything, patching the holes that they had from a Super Bowl caliber offense. So I'm going to go to Devonta Smith, and we'll see which quarterback gets back to me here, if either. All right, so after him, Joe Mixon and Joe Burrow, so two guys in the Cincinnati backfield, Kenneth Walker and Amari Cooper. So there's still some good receivers on the board here. If we just run through, we got Deebo Samuel, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, who, interestingly enough, doesn't have a team, but still ADP 44. Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin. No one that screams out to me here. So if I'm going to pass on Lamar, it's going to likely be a running back that causes me to do that. And none of really the guys that I were hoping for have gone here. I think Madison would be the pick for me here. But just kind of the cheat code upside that is Lamar Jackson. Like, even it sounds like they're going to want to pass the ball more this year, right? Which is fine because he's still going to run the ball enough on scrambles. Now, he doesn't need the designed runs just because of how athletic he is. And, the weapons, feasibly got better, right? You brought in OBJ. We'll see what he has left. You have Bateman getting another year older. This seems like the year you're going to see it or not see it from him. But you brought in a really good receiver that can open up the offense really with Zay Flowers. So they've done a good job of putting some receivers there around Mark Andrews. So I think Lamar is really going to benefit the most from that. And I don't usually like to go quarterback too early, but I think this is a spot where you're getting one of those top 5 guys that you think have a really good shot of being in that top 5 and really hitting that top 1. And because I'm going to have probably a bit of a RB deficiency with not going RB here, I feel like I'm getting one, to a degree, or at least half of a running back with Lamar Jackson. So I'm going to lock in Lamar. After him, TJ Hawkinson, Keenan Allen, Aaron Jones, Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, and George Kittle.
Solid. So I like the position I'm in because I am also going to go quarterback, but I like 2. So I'm just going to wait until the next turn to do that. Let's take a look at some of the options. We still do have Matson here. We got J.K. Dobbins, Damian Pierce, Miles Sanders. That's real nice. Here in the 4th round at wide receiver, we got Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Drake London, Chris Godwin, Christian Watson, Jerry Jeudy. So I'm a bit torn on what I want to do. I'm looking. Miles Sanders is really intriguing here. In the 4th round, the back of the 4th round, that would be great. But I just said I'm grabbing I'm grabbing a quarterback. I know, that means I'm not getting my second wide receiver until the 6th round, and my first one is an upside shot on Olave. So just a little nervous about pulling the trigger on that, but we'll take a look at the tight end real quick here. We do got Goddard, Kyle Pitts, who's dead to me. Freiermuth. I think I am gonna pull the trigger on Miles Sanders. I'm gonna have 3 strong running backs, I think, with McCaffrey, Gibbs, and Miles Sanders.
I like that pick. It's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, we got a flex spot for a wide receiver or running back here. Nothing. Matson's a fine pick. I don't know. I don't think he'd probably be here, so I don't think it's fair for me to grab him. J.K. Dobbins, solid pick. I think Miles is in a better position than them guys. Cam Akers is down there. He's a big upside shot. But Miles carries less risk. So I'm going to take Miles Sanders here. We had J.K. Dobbins go, and Justin Herbert went. So there we go. We got my quarterback decision because I was between Justin Fields and Justin Herbert, where I feel like Fields, given his rushing, obviously has sky-high upside. But you can definitely see a situation where he just falters this year and he's just done. Or maybe they give him another year, or at the end of the day, fantasy-wise, he's not great. Where Justin Herbert has similar upside, not as high, but is a safer option in my opinion. So I was really between the 2. I don't have to make the decision. Fields has been selected for me. So we're just going to go ahead and lock him in, get that quarterback done. Alexander Mattson does go next. Team 4 going 0 RB here. They got Travis Kelce, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore. Then Damian Pierce went, Terry McLaurin. Goddard went at the 507, Drake London, Chris Godwin. Were you considering Goddard there?
To a degree, probably not, because I have
running back?
Already used a quarterback, or a non-receiver running back pick, and I have Devonta Smith already. So, I mean, I think there's a good value for him there, but my team, I'd probably be looking to diversify, team-wise, skill player-wise, but then also making sure I go back to the receiver running back well. For me, I was actually a little bit more bummed to see London and Godwin go. This is a situation where I was thinking about going a little harder on wide receiver if that tier was still there, because of I've already got that RB deficiency, so could look to do that. But I'm not in love with the guys here: Christian Watson, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Pittman, Hollywood Brown, not bad. Mike Evans, still there. It's tough to know really what to do with those receivers there. Godwin, Mike Evans. So I look at the running back. There's still some solid options here. DeAndre Swift, James Conner is a good one. I think he's going to get a ton of catches. And he's unless Arizona does something at running back, like he is just going to be a volume guy. So I think that's solid. Cam Akers is another one that I really like this year. I think pendulum kind of swung pretty far on him, and then he finished the year strong. But I don't think a lot of people are weighing that as much. I think they're really weighing kind of narrative that the team didn't want him or didn't want to use him. So both of those running backs are solid. I kind of would like to double up on both of them here if I can. And I think James Conner is someone that I want to get a good floor, especially PPR. He's going to catch a ton of passes. So I'm going to go Conner here and then hope that I can get Cam Akers on the back end. So James Conner, Pittman goes, DeAndre Swift, Kyle Pitts, and there goes Cam Akers. So figured there's a good chance that one of them would go, unfortunately. So with that off the board, we still got a Javonte Williams, which, man, it's tough to really figure out what to do with him because he, could be a league-winning type player, but, I mean, guy is coming off of an ACL. I think it was multiple ligaments too, not just the ACL. So while he's still a young running back and, hopefully we see him fully recover, we saw what happened with J.K. Dobbins last year coming back from the injury. He got back to play, but he wasn't the same. Yeah, I think maybe this is the year you see J.K. Dobbins step up a little bit more. So a little worried about Williams. When we look beyond him, Kamara is an interesting upside option. I know we're still worried about the I guess suspension, we'd say, and as far as I know, there's really not been much news, right? So we're still waiting to
I
hear
haven't
if
heard anything on it. I'll look it up real quick while you're talking.
Yeah. But I mean, this is an area where I think the upside is so high. Like, I was looking at Cam Akers really for the upside pick there. This is an area where I wouldn't mind grabbing Kamara. I've got two receivers, two running backs, and getting a shot at an upside Alvin Kamara, even if it's for later in the year. To be, if he is the Alvin Kamara of old, then my running backs are credible, and I've already got two strong top receivers with Lamar. So Kamara is probably the option I'm looking at here. Rashad White still here. Dalvin Cook, don't know where he's going to land. Obviously, that could mess up, other people's fantasy values as well, depending where he goes. Pacheco in Kansas City, should be the first man up, but I know a lot of people are excited about the opportunity that we may see with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Does he get back involved? Seems like Pacheco should be the top guy up, though. Jerry Jeudy, if I'm looking at wide receiver, would be probably the option for me here. I think, this offense should get better. Jerry Jeudy, was a little banged up last year, but I think all signs point to him looking good. And, in an offense where you have a guru head coach with Sean Payton now there, this would be a spot where I'd, want to kind of strengthen the strength of my team, which is receiver. So I'm going to go Jeudy here. There's some uncertainty with Kamara. So I'm going to go with that and look to maybe bolster up with some more later shots at running back. So Jerry Jeudy off the board, Christian Watson next, Alvin Kamara, Hollywood Brown, Mike Williams, and Mike Evans, Trevor Lawrence, and Dalvin Cook.
So the last article I found was from a month ago. And it's Pro Football Network, who doesn't believe that he's going to face any discipline this season. The
Get pushed off even
So the
further.
trial is set to begin on July 31st. And then who knows how long it lasts and how long there's a result. And, the NFL doesn't have to wait for the trial, but they tend to wait until there's, some sort of verdict. So, those things can be slow. And if it's starting at the very end of July 31st, it's, really August, you could be deep in the season before the verdict's handed down. But that's also really bad because you could be in a situation like Zeke was years ago, where wasn't he suspended at the back half of the season? We're talking a while ago.
I remember. I don't know if that was him or not, but I remember there was somebody that like they pushed it off, and then the suspension kicked in mid-year as opposed to him starting the year.
So
later.
Maybe you're in a position where Kamara's good. You're riding him through, and then playoff time comes, and it's he's suspended or something to that degree. But anyway, that's what I found there. So I don't have to look at quarterback anymore. We have 3 running backs, so we'll do our due diligence. We'll take a peek. It's pretty similar to what you had spelled out there, so I'm not too interested on that front. Tight end, we do still have Darren Waller, who scares me, but in the back of the 6th round is kind of enticing. But I need some wide receivers. I only have one. I have Chris Olave. So I am going to look for some tight ends here. We got some solid options. Tyler Lockett, Brandon Ayuk, Christian Kirk, Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Treylon Burks, JSN, Jordan Addison, Dotson, Tony. Still plenty of good options here. So I have the upside of Olave. I think initially I'm going to pair him with the safety of Tyler Lockett. Christian Kirk, another safe option. Like I could go either or. I just prefer Lockett. So we're going to lock him in. Brandon Ayuk went, which is a shame because I was considering Ayuk with my next pick. And Deontay Johnson goes. So that's a turn. And I was also considering him as well. So suddenly, I don't like the options as much anymore. Like Christian Kirk he's next up ADP, and he's a solid pick. I just don't think he has upside, or like sky high upside. Not that I'm that scared about Ridley. And then George Pickens and Treylon Burks both have upside, but I'm not sure I want 2 of my 3 receivers being kind of rolly into the dice. I don't really consider Olave that big of a dice roll. But he doesn't have to be a 1. He could be a 2. If he's a 2 and Lockett's a 2, and then I draft Burks, who's a complete bust, I'm in a bad spot. I'm not sure I'm willing to do that. So I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to draft Christian Kirk here. I did give half a thought to Waller. There he goes off the clock. So, he won't be getting back. But I'm going to play it safe, go with Kirk. George Pickens did go right after me. We got Rashad White, Darren Waller, Pacheco, 706, Treylon Burks, Addison, 708, and there goes Javonte Williams at 709. That would have been tempting for you, huh?
Yeah, very tempting. A couple of receivers that I liked, as you mentioned, Ayuk off the board. Burks and Addison, I think, were good options, especially with that being the strength of my team. I can kind of take some shots, roll the dice on a couple of guys there. But alas, they are off the board. So we'll take a look at those onesie position, the receiver and running back positions. But first, I want to look here at tight end because there's still quite a few decent options at this stage where we at the end of the 7th round. So if you're looking at what's 80s, low 80s. And you still have Pat Freiermuth, David Njoku, Evan Ingram all on the board. Schultz, Cole Kmet, Chig Okonkwo. So quite a few tight ends at this point. One of the guys behind me has one. So if I was considering tight end, it wouldn't be till my next pick because there's a few guys that I do like still there. So looking back at the receiver position, JSN here at top of the board. Jahan Dotson, another guy that I think a lot of people are high on this year, but the quarterback situation can be a little scary. There's Tony, Brandon Cooks, a good, probably safer option. Quentin Johnson, rookie, a little bit lower down. If we go back to running back, David Montgomery, still here on the board. Is an interesting option that I think, with every other running back out there, it's really just Montgomery and Gibbs, and I think they're going to use both of them. So he seems like a pretty solid option for my running back room that is, a little lighter, but really just looking to make sure I get guys that I can get some carries out of, because I think I'm going to be pretty strong across the board side of that. Another guy that I think has a solid upside is Antonio Gibson. So he's a couple picks down here on the running back board. Jamal Williams is another, I think, safer running back that you can get later. And, depending on what happens with Kamara that we talked about earlier, I think could be a good guy to pair there. Not thrilled really with a ton of receivers besides Dotson. So I think I'm going to go with Dave Montgomery and then, consider Dotson, another running back or tight end here next. So see what happens after I take David Montgomery. JSN goes, James Cook, Quentin Johnston, nice rookie option there. And then Pat Freiermuth goes off the board. So quite a few tight ends have been taken, and, not really in love with any of the guys here. Njoku and Ingram probably be the next two up, but I wouldn't mind getting a Chig or a Dulcich or a Gerald Everett a little bit later in the draft. So we're going to look still at those onesie positions, and for me, it comes down to a Jahan Dotson, or do I want to go with another running back here? Dotson, a little higher up on the board. I don't imagine Dotson or Gibson get back to me here. Interesting that they're both on Washington, and a scary offense, I think, from you don't know what the quarterback situation is going to look like. But Dotson, I think, is pretty solid footing as like the second passing option, especially with McKissick gone. Now, someone that could push him for targets is Antonio Gibson, the running back. So it's interesting. What do you think here out of these two? These are probably two guys I'm debating between, and I think there's a good amount of upside on both of them.
Yeah, that is that's a tough one. I think I would go Dotson. Yeah, I think I would lean Dotson. It's hard because your team's balanced. there's no strong lean anywhere. I think I would go Dotson here. I think,
I mean, it's obviously nice to have the running backs there, but I think there is a higher floor for Dotson, whereas the Gibson floor is, nothing.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, like, Dotson, like, what's his upside? Wide receiver 2?
You mean a fantasy wide receiver 2? Yeah, probably. I mean, he finished 51 last year, his rookie year. Obviously, limited targets. He only played 12 games.
Like, I don't know. I think I like Gibson too as like a depth guy. I just think Dotson has a higher upside right now.
Yeah. And I think, in a situation like this where I did kind of skimp at running back, I try not to chase and, okay, I need running back. I want to get this, and this. Like, I want to try to make sure that the position that I am strong at, I stay strong at throughout with depth. And that's really where I lean to Dotson. And I think there is a bit more of a drop-off in the receivers here, whereas there's going to be other running back shots like Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
So I tend to agree there as well. So I'm going to go Dotson, load up on the receiver position, and have pretty good floor for my flex with Dre Judy and Dotson, with the hope that some running backs throughout here, or even in free agency, can help there. Some quarterbacks go off the board, which I think is good for both of us, given that we have quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, and Tua all go in a row. A.J. Dillon next, Kirk Cousins, and Brian Robinson, who is actually competition there for Antonio Gibson, goes for Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, so we'll take a look here. The running back's pretty similar. I mean, Gibson is interesting for me as a depth running back there. You also got Khalil Herbert, A Chains down here. So plenty of interesting options. At wide receiver, let's see here. I'm not in love with this. Kadarius Toney's here. If you want to take a real upside shot, Brandon Cooks, Juju, Michael Thomas, Gabe Davis, Zay Flowers, Bateman, Jameson Williams, Lazard, OBJ, definitely thinning out. At tight end, all the same tight ends that you rattled off, I'm good waiting there. So since I took two safer wide receivers, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to take Kadarius Toney. We know Kadarius Toney at this point, like that's huge boom bust right there. Like this dude could set the world on fire, or he could just be injured and be absolutely nothing. But I got my safer guys. I want to take a shot on somebody again, and I'm going to take that shot on Toney. I was hoping Gibson got back to me for the 209, and he did not. So
not the case. And that team only had one running back, so
yeah, it kind of expected it.
Knew he was going to likely go running back.
Yeah, you thought it was possible. So Gibson went and Charbonnet at the 8-9 turn. So we'll turn back here. We have Jamal Williams, we have Rashad Penny, Khalil Herbert, Samaje Perine, A-Chain, Damian Williams. So I'm actually going to do something, the exact same thing I did in the last draft. I have McCaffrey, I have Gibbs, I have Sanders. I am quite comfortable with those three, so I'm going to take an upside shot on A-Chain. I just feel like I can afford to do it. I like Herbert. And part of me looks and says, you know what, I should draft Herbert. But the position I'm in, I don't think Herbert doesn't have A-Chain's upside. And, if Herbert hits his upside, he might not still crack, my roster. Maybe great trade bait. Maybe I pair him and lock it for something, something like that, but you can't draft for that. So I'm going to take A-Chain and take that upside shot there at the running back position. So 8 and 9 for me, 2 upside shots at each position. We had Juju go, Brandon Cooks, and Joko goes. We have Jameson Williams finally, Penny Ingram to 908. He still has not signed his franchise tag, I believe.
I don't think I saw him sign it yet. Yeah, I mean, I think
he will.
Still got
he would
time.
Think he will.
We would think he will, but yeah.
And then Michael Thomas, the old first round wide receiver, now at the 909.
Yeah, tough. A few guys I was hoping would slip. One of the tight ends there, Jamal Williams. I really like him, especially to start the year, and then Brandon Cooks. So, a couple of guys get sniped there, unfortunately. Still, the tight ends that I like are a little further down. So I don't imagine, even if the team's behind me, double up on tight ends, that I'd need to take one here. But I am going to consider it on my next turn, because I know you and I are both going to be jostling for Mr. Chigakonkwo. And while this might ADP-wise be a little early, after my 10th pick, I don't think he'll get back. And it's a reach. So that is potentially going to be the pick in the next round. I'm not really thrilled with the receivers here, right? So I'm pretty happy I went Dotson last. You have Davis, Flowers, and Bateman if you're going to call your shot on a Baltimore guy, which isn't bad given that I have Lamar, but still, I think it's going to be a little bit more of kind of spread it around in that offense. So not something I'm looking for there. So I'm going to look at the receiver the running back position here. We have Khalil Herbert, I think, guy first up that I think we were expecting there in Chicago. And, there's a chance he holds the job. I mean, you got a rookie there. You have, blanking on his name, Foreman, coming over from Carolina. So a couple of options. But I do think Khalil Herbert, at the very least, is going to hold a good portion of that down. And there's a chance that Roshan isn't ready right off the jump. And Foreman looks good, but you can really see that Herbert is the guy. So he seems like the pick here for me. We look further down. Samaje Perine is another good option here. I don't think he's got, he's going to get some work because they don't want to rush Williams back in Denver. But I don't think he's got the upside that Herbert does, where Herbert could come out and be the guy. If Damon Harris in Buffalo, Elijah Mitchell, San Francisco, McKinnon. There's really not too many others. So for me, I think, being able to get one of the last guys I think truly has like RB1 on their team upside here as my fourth running back to keep my team pretty balanced is exciting. So I'm going to lock in Khalil Herbert. After him, Anthony Richardson goes. Gabe Davis, Dalton Schultz, and Samaje Perine. So we talked about a couple of the receivers and the running backs. Wasn't a huge fan of them here. So I'm going to go to the tight end position, and I'm going to call kind of an upside shot on Chigakonkwo.
I hate you.
A little early on
I
ADP,
hate
and I
you.
know Steve was hoping he would get back, but I know just looking, not even the fact that I know Steve would want him here, but even if Steve wasn't in the draft, Dulcich a little further down, Olsen and Everett are options. But there are still two teams that don't have a tight end, despite the fact that I'm sure some teams may take a second tight end here. So happy to have gone early at quarterback and get Lamar, and go late here at tight end and still get a tight end that I think has upside, weekly to, just have a ton of volume in the offense and could be a breakout tight end this year. But at the very least, I think it's a really good lottery ticket to cash here. So we're going to go ahead and lock in Chig first. So after him, Damian Harris goes. Rashad Bateman will gift to here a couple quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones, back to back. Odell Beckham, Cole Kmet goes, and Alan Lazard.
Yeah, that went pretty poorly.
Not great.
Not great. So when I was sitting there with the A-Chain, I was like, oh, I like Njoku. I was like, Chig might get to me. If Chig doesn't, Kmet will. And
Nope.
None of it. So let's look at the tight end position, shall we? We got Kincaid. We have Higbee, Dulcich, Everett, Laporta. Okay, so there's a base. Trey McBride's down there. Dulcich is the one I want. Second year guy. We saw some good stuff out of him last year. Everyone loves Kincaid, but rookie tight ends just typically aren't it. Even the mighty Kyle Pitts was tight end 7 or 8. Just who cares? So I'm looking. Team 1 does not have or has a tight end in Mark Andrews. So I'm assuming he will not go. So I will turn my attention to the running back and wide receiver position. We got Elijah Mitchell, McKinnon, Tyler Algier, Devin Singletary, potential depth starter there. Mostert, Foreman. Could take a shot on Zeke if I think he's going to land somewhere. Same could be said for Fournette. Tajay Spears, Gainwell's here. That's interesting. Back to the wide receiver position. We got Zay Flowers, if you want to take a shot there. Jameson Williams, Elijah Moore, Jacoby Myers, Adam Thielen, Darnell Mooney. This is a tough one, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not in love with the running backs here. Singletary is interesting. Mostert's interesting. Kendry Miller, maybe. It's okay. At wide receiver, I could take an upside shot with Zay Flowers. Jameson Williams posted a suspension. I could go after an Adam Thielen, who very well may be like the one for his team. Right? They got Mingo, Flowers.
Yeah, Mingo. Somebody else just go out there as well. Chark.
Yeah. Chark is there. Chark is there. So you're not changing my mind. Thielen could be the one there. He just kind of falls in a Lockett Kirk. Like he's safe. That does Lockett and Kirk got decent upside. Thielen's upside's not sky high, I'd imagine. Darnell Mooney could be an interesting blend of upside and safety. Mingo is here. Zay Jones. I don't really know what I want to do. I think I'll take Zay Flowers and just take another upside shot there at the wide receiver position and see what gets back to me. Jameson Williams goes, Elijah Mitchell goes. Now I should do the test. Who here needs a running back, tight end? They all have tight ends, right? No. Team 6 does not.
Do all of them have 2 tight ends?
Yeah, that's the great question. Team 6 doesn't have one yet. So do I roll the dice and assume they take one that's probably Kincaid? We could roll the dice, Will. I'm going to draft Adam Thielen. Grab a safety guy. We'll see if this pays off. Team 6, I've gotten through one pick. So Elijah Moore goes at the 1103. Geno Smith, 1104. Interesting, good deep quarterback shot there. Mostert and McKinnon go. Jacoby Myers there. There goes Kincaid at 11:08. That was a double tight end. And then Tyler Algier. You are back on the clock. I'm scared to death.
Yeah, so I lucked out with a guy that I want here. But before I get to that, was going kind of deep diving on just like who's, available here with these later shot picks. And Julian Edelman still there, like ahead of some actual NFL players, surprisingly in ADP. Yeah, Julian.
He's been gone for like 3 years now.
I know. It's funny. Looking at the guys available here, a guy that I think has a chance to carve out a pretty good role on a bad team that I'm happy is still here, and it's going to be a pretty no-brainer pick for me, is Devin Singletary. This late in the draft, I think it's an easy pick. While sure, Algier could still have a role, right? Raheem Mostert probably is still the starter. Elijah Mitchell. I think there's a good chance that Singletary got paid, there for a reason, and they are saying, hey, on top of us, paying you a boatload of money, we are like the idea. I think is like they had to, probably say, hey, we are going to give you a good amount of carries. Like there's no way that he just wants to go to a bad team just to get paid. Like I think there's probably a promise to use him as well. And this late in the draft, on a team where my RB2 is still a little shaky. I have a couple of good shots at the position. I think he is one of the few running backs left that really has a chance to be the RB1, and it's not out of the question. Like most of these guys are going to need an injury. I think there is a chance that he comes in, plays well enough that it's at least a 1A, 1B, unless Pierce really regresses. So going to lock in Devin Singletary first here. Rondale Moore goes, Jared Goff, Darnell Mooney, and Deonta Freeman. So 2 teams. You survived there on the tight end worry. Now you just have the middle of the draft to survive left.
Yeah, just like 6 teams or something.
Yeah. There is not a ton of guys coming up that I'm really interested in. So for these last few picks, I'm probably going to be deep diving a little more. Receiver would be nice here. Tyler Boyd, solid, but I don't think there's really enough upside for me to be that interested there. Mingo, interesting rookie, but receiver, rookie, not thrilled about the situation there and the team. Sky Moore is an interesting one, Rasheed Rice also right there with him. Wan'Dale Robinson a little further down. I'm going to dive a little more and take a shot on a guy that I think could be the guy here, and if he's not, if we don't see it early, I don't mind moving on from him. And it is on the same team, so I'm banking pretty hard here. I'm going to go with Mr. John Mechie, who I think you and I are both excited about for our dynasty team, but I also think he's got a pretty good shot to be the wide receiver 1 there, especially from a fantasy standpoint. So we're going to lock in Mr. John Mechie, get him as my 5th receiver. After Mechie goes Russell Wilson, Tyler Boyd, Tyler Higbee, so tight end off the board. Then Greg Dulcich back-to-back. Ezekiel Elliott, Kendre Miller, and Gerald Everett. So that just really bust your bubble there of tight ends.
Yeah, that stings. Here goes
4 tight ends go, between your picks.
I was expecting 1 or 2, but 4 of them to go. Sleeper is just some BS, man. BS.
They're not nice.
It's not nice. So I don't know what to do. Okay, so I'm not doing well with the rookies. I don't care about Laporta. I don't care about Michael Mayer. Zach Ertz is here, who I've never really considered. I don't know if he's the starter.
I mean, he should be healthy, and the offense may not be great, but someone's got to catch the ball.
And
there,
that's
right?
what. So I was looking. I was like, well, Trey McBride's gonna be my pick. 2nd-year guy. We saw some stuff out of him last year.
Double up.
I don't want to double up. Not with them too. But he was the guy, and I saw Ertz, and I was like, well, is Ertz still the tight end 1? Like, I think he's just he tore his ACL.
That was that the year before?
I don't know.
Or was that last
I don't
year?
recall. I don't recall.
Because I feel like he, was fairly productive in Arizona since he left the
He
Eagles.
was, but I think
But I don't recall exactly when that
I
injury
feel like the
was.
back half of the year he fell off, maybe.
But I wonder if that was that part of like the injury though. Zach
Ertz injury. See, ACL was intact. So something with the ACL. No, Cardinals reveals he underwent surgery to repair a torn ACL and MCL. That is bad.
Yeah. And when was the injury?
The surgery was in December. I think.
Week 10, season-ending knee injury.
Yeah, that's bad. So I think that's
so
McBride.
9 months would put him, on track to start, but he's not the youngest player.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Let's look at the running backs. We got Roschon Johnson, good shot to take. Jeff Wilson, not bad. Tank Bigsby's okay. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still here. Wow. Okay, I don't care Gus Edwards. I don't care about most of these guys. Wide receivers, Mingo, interesting upside shot, but, rookie, Rashee Rice, I don't care because I got, what's his name? Kadarius Toney. Okay. I don't care about a lot of these people. I am going to draft Juwan Johnson. Very fantasy relevant tight end last year. Kind of worried about what's his name coming over, who was a tight end that they diagnosed with the thing. He was on our team, Will, I think. Foster Moreau.
Foster Moreau,
yeah.
Yeah, we traded him at the end of the year.
Yeah. So I'm kind of worried about Juwan Johnson when, they brought in Foster as a relationship with Carr, but Carr has used a tight end plenty throughout his career. So Juwan Johnson, if he has that same upside he had last year, man, I've really just hit a home run. But that's basically what I'm swinging for. So we're going to draft him. Mingo goes, Bryce Young goes, and then I'm going to pair him with Trey McBride. I don't like drafting 2 tight ends, but I'm not in a great position right now. And I'm okay missing out on Zay Jones and Tank Bigsby to, take 2 shots at the tight end position and see if something works out. So Jeff Wilson goes 1303. Bigsby goes. Zay Jones goes. Laporta. Roschon Johnson 1307. Kyler Murray. Sky Moore. Will, you're on the clock, and we do need to hurry up our last round here.
All right. So looking at some of my kind of deep dives at running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire still here. I think still a decent shot to you'll see how much he's used early. Kenny Gainwell, another one that we talked about last time. Chase Brown, rookie running back in Cincinnati. Gus Edwards. So some decent guys. I think Clyde is the pick here for me at running back, just taking another shot at a guy that we'll see how he looks there in week 1. So we'll lock him in first. Michael Mayer goes, Rashee Rice, Leonard Fournette, and Gallup. And after him, I'm going to take a shot at a receiver I think could have some good volume to start out in LA, and that's Van Jefferson. And we talked about him, last couple of years as a guy that could, had he had an opportunity and always kind of really had somebody else there, in front of him next to Cooper Kupp. But I think that could be Van Jefferson this year. So we're going to lock him in next. Zach Ertz goes. So sorry about your Zach Ertz, excitement to go 3 tight ends in a row there. After him, Tajay Spears, Hunter Renfrow, Nico Collins, DJ Chark, Juan Dale Robinson, and Derek Carr.
No one here that I love. I will take a shot on rookie Jalen Hyatt, just for some of that rookie upside that I already have some of. So that wraps up the draft. So again, 12-team PPR. I am in the 2 spot. Will is in the 10 spot. I will go first here, given I was in the 2. Quarterback, Justin Fields. At running back, we got McCaffrey, Gibbs, Sanders, and A-Chain. At the wide receiver position, we got Olave, Lockett, Kirk, Toney, Flowers, Thielen, Hyatt. And then at tight end, we have Juwan Johnson and Trey McBride. How about your team?
All right. So we've got Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Josh Jacobs, James Conner, David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, Devin Singletary, Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back, Stephon Diggs, Devonta Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Jahan Dotson, John Mechie, and Van Jefferson at wide receiver. and Chig Okonkwo at tight end. Pretty happy with the way the team lined up there. I mean, I think I did a good job of bouncing back and forth with depth. Took some shots at running back. Not getting really a ton early hurt. But that was the kind of sacrifice they paid to get Lamar Jackson and kind of get that cheat code at quarterback. So this team I think is pretty well built, good depth. A couple of guys I think I'm going to see early and be able to move on from, and then really just going to be looking to get some more depth and running back shots throughout the season, and possibly tight end if Chig doesn't work out. But overall, I think it's a pretty good team.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with mine. The running backs quite strong. I do kind of wish I had a depth guy. Like you ended up with Singletary and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like one of them would have been nice on this team. Like somebody that probably doesn't have a ton of upside, but could cover for an injury for me, just in case like A-Chain. If A-Chain's in a timeshare, I'm down to 3. Which isn't a bad number of running backs to have, especially top tier.
Especially with 3 that you got
exactly. But still, it's kind of worrisome. I would have liked the depth one. I'm pretty happy with how the wide receivers turned out. It does suck not seeing a bona fide Diggs, Tyreek, something like that. But we think Olave is going to be that. And then obviously the tight end position is a bit of a dumpster fire. That's a lot of teams at the tight end position, right? Like you look at Juwan Johnson, McBride, and think, well, they're not high quality guys. And it's like, okay, well, this team 11's got Freiermuth and he's not got top 5 upside. Let's be real. Chig could easily be a bust. Ingram's solid, but he's not going to be top 5. Everyone's at a bad position at the tight end position. So I'm trying to talk myself into being okay with it. But yeah, that wraps up the draft. At this point, Will, we are a show every week. So plenty more mocks. I don't know what we're doing next week, but we're not going to do like a 12-team PPR. We'll do something different, whether that's...
Switch maybe a 10-team. I know there's a lot of 10 teams out there.
Yeah.
If anybody has any ideas, feel free to tweet at us at Trust Your Board.
Give us a tweet. We'll see. But, the usual. We could do a 10, a 14, a super flex. Who knows? We'll probably wander in the 10-team. I think typically we do it like every other week. So we'll do like a 10-team and then a 12, and then a 14 and then a 12 or something like that. So we will we'll fall into a groove.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Until next week, trust your board.